Right, I'm going to record. And welcome to AI, the cool stuff. Talking about not just AI. And my name is David Harris, and I run the Peppercorn networking, and I do other things as well, like web design. But we're just going to quickly go around the room and tell you what it is that we do in our day jobs. And my question today is, what do you think is the number one AI websites? So if you think it's, you know, ChatGPT or Gemini or Canva, or what do you what is your impression about what is the most used one? Jane, you were here first. Let's
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody, on this incredibly hot morning. I work for a company called Invicta Linux, and we do IT systems for small and medium-sized businesses with a strong focus on privacy and security. We use Linux, open source, and all the other blends in our solutions. We also do software. So um, the best, the most used. Actually, I don't use one because I'm always a little bit suspect of their results. So I cross check with probably two others. So
mm,
typically I'll use Gemini, which I like, and Grok and Claude maybe. Uh, I used to love Pi, but we won't talk about that because it hurt me deeply. And anyway, and Perplexity as well, which now I've noticed that Firefox is pushing out. Um, and it's all good. I mean, yeah, I'll stop there.
well, what do you assume is the most popular though? Sort of.
Oh, what do I see? I think it's probably Chat GPT, which I also use on my phone. So yeah, I would imagine so because it's the most accessible, perhaps.
Interesting. I'll come back to that. Andy.
Yeah, Andy from Web Success Insights. I help people get more from their websites. Um, I think the number one, this could be a trick question, knowing David. I per I personally think it's Google, um, in that the AI overviews currently and AI mode when it rolls out in the UK as well. I think, apart from the obvious ones like ChatGPT, that's where I would be going because it's going to be AI built into it. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
And Shelley.
So hi, I'm a medic pivoted from Western medicine, helping people to live healthier for longer and reversing those health, fitness, and aging challenges with native to the human body biotechnologies and an epigenetic approach to your health. And in terms of the AI thing, I think I agree with Andy because I've been noticing the AI overview with Google. I think the caveat there is that I think it might be the most used because Google is the most used, but people don't realize it is the most popular because everybody talks about ChatGPT.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
Sorry, when you say Google though, you mean Gemini, don't you? Because that's what comes up, isn't it? If you put a
Yeah,
Google
yeah,
search,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, okay.
I mean, we'll call it Gemini.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is basically. So there's although Google have got other things, but none of
Mm.
them figure higher than Gemini. Mike, I'll give you a clue. Well, first of all, you're on mute. Second, secondly, now site's not in the top 20.
Can you give me a clue? Clue that I'm on mute. Yeah. Let's try again. Fortunately, I'm not an AI, so I don't have to think about things like that. If I forget it, I forget it. Yeah, so I'm a financial planner. I help people with their finances. I'm with a company called Genistar. We work across the UK, helping families to save money and to basically plan for the future. In terms of the AI that I use, obviously, NowSite is the one I've been using for the last 2 years pretty solidly, and I use it every day. I use it for something, probably two or three things every day. Find it very useful. I think the most popular one out there is going to be ChatGPT because everybody knows about it. And whenever you to hear anything on AI, it's always, oh, no, ChatGPT did this. So that's the one that's the most likely. However, I have been using Microsoft's Copilot quite a lot more. and it's actually proved very useful for some very quick responses, and actually to show me how to use my Excel, because I use it on Excel, and it actually does things that I can't do, which is really good. So that's my view of it. But ChatGPT is definitely the one.
Okay, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, as Andy surmised, it was a little bit of a trick question because it depends on how you if you want to look at the real world, if you want to look at the surveys and the information you get coming out of Google, for instance, the number one is ChatGPT. Then it's Claude, then it's Midjourney, then Perplexity, then Google Gemini, then Grok, Leonardo, Canva, Runway. DeepSeek is number 10, but it doesn't include the Chinese figures. And there are hundreds of millions of people in China using DeepSeek every day.
Okay.
It's their number one AI and it's their go-to. So I was reading yesterday that it's possible that DeepSeek is the number one AI service in the world.
Good point,
Um,
actually. Yeah.
So it's actually number 10 if you look at Google's stats,
I
but
never
they
got on
don't
with it
measure
when
China.
I tried it and it didn't seem to do an awful lot for me. Maybe I just had
No,
a bad day.
it seems to be pretty comparable to
Mm.
a lot of others, but obviously, Google have really they're really in the game now. They've with their imaging
Yeah,
I
true.
know
Yeah,
their
yeah,
chat, sort of imaging 4, for instance, is becoming really popular because it will create an image in seconds.
yeah.
Really good image in about 3 or 4 seconds. And ChatGPT takes, I think the average is 45 seconds. And even Midjourney is, you're looking at 15 seconds. So I mean it's there, and there are other. Um, Kling is in the top 20 as well, and Luma Labs, Hugging Face, Chatbase. I was surprised because it's kind of a specialist thing, but it's hugely popular with small businesses and things.
Mm.
To create a chatbot. So and one called Magic Form, and I don't even know what that is, so I'm gonna have to look that up. So it's but we shall
Mm.
see where they go. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's uh, you
very
know,
interesting.
technically it's ChatGPT, but I think it's probably
Yeah.
and now Google, and it might not include the fact that Google are putting their AI at the top of all the search
Mm.
results. That's going to skew the results as well.
Yeah.
If people are keying it in, then obviously I can see that ChatGPT, is the one that's people have used the longest, and it's the one that people go to. But I've recently stopped using. I do use it occasionally, but ChatGPT. But I've been using Gemini a lot more. I
Mm.
quite like Grok as well, actually, because it's the speed of response, and it writes really quite nice blogs, actually. If you ask it nicely to write, and it's completely free. It generates images as well.
Which
Um,
is that? That's completely free.
yeah, yeah, Grok.
Rock. Okay.
Yeah. So
Mm.
it's you can access it via X or Twitter, or you can just go to Grok,
Mm.
Grok. There's another
Okay.
Grok,
Yeah.
Grok that's
Yeah.
that's different, which is
Mm.
another AI. So I don't know which one came first, but
Okay.
uh,
Which reminds me of why I jumped on here. I saw the email a few minutes ago after I just finished a meeting. But do you remember I had asked you, David, if you've ever heard of Kane Minkus?
what was that? Sorry.
Do you remember that some time ago I had asked you if you've ever heard of Kane Minkus?
I don't recall it. I don't.
Okay, because well, he is possibly the top AI knowledge and teaching person in the world right now, and they're having he's part of a group that they're having a seminar this weekend from today until Sunday, And I think his AI teaching is really, really good. So I just thought that I would jump in here and let you know about it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Stick it in the chat. I mean, I do know quite a few AI tutors around. I've been watching. I don't know if anybody else watches AI stuff on YouTube apart from me, but there's Sir Dennis Hassabis. I don't know how you pronounce it. Hassabis. He's the head of Google DeepMind, and he's been talking. He's been doing a lot of interviews in the last few weeks, talking about the future of AI in particular, and it was talking about AGI. And on the whole, he was quite optimistic, even though even though he was, you know, there are some dangers. And I have made a presentation, and it was really really interesting. I just want to show you how I created the presentation, because I thought it was quite interesting, because it didn't take me very long. So what I'll do is I'm going to share my screen. So the one I used was I can find it. That's another one I'm looking at. So let's see what my that one.
So a very intense time in the field.
He was talking about the future of work in the age of AI, but he mentioned AGI as well, and it was a really interesting video. It's only 20 minutes long, so I used so I've got so many bloody windows on. So I've used good old Notebook LM, which we spoke about last week, that obviously Andy uses quite a lot. I found it really handy, and and you can use it for so many things as well. Creating, you do have to change them, but you can create podcasts and things. So I just put that one video in there. I tried it with several videos, and got a bit messy. So then I just asked it, just based on that one video, because it had all the information in there that I wanted to talk about. So I just asked it to create a slideshow that I then put into there's what have I done now? No, that's not the one. Oh, here we go. So I then put into Gamma, and then I've just copied and pasted that and asked it to create a slideshow for me about the video, which it's done, and it's kind of nicely sort of summarized everything, which I thought was
What platform is this you're using, David?
It's gamma.app.
Gamma.app. Okay.
Gamma.app. It's I use it quite a lot, and you can create slideshows in minutes. So so if we have demoed this several times, done another one. There's several sort of slideshows here. You can create a slideshow with one line. So if you said I've tried this one before, history of the Roman Empire, use something simple. You can use a much more complex. Let's make it 8 cards, and then it'll generate an outline for you. Obviously, that's a big period of time. So then it's just it's created from the beginnings to the legacy, and that's fine. It's got 8. I can choose any sort of theme I like. I can look at more themes, but I'm just going to stick with let's just stick with that one there, and then just click on generate, and that's it. And within seconds, you can have a slideshow that you can present to people, and it would AI generate images as well to go along with it. You can choose your your image generator. It's got several included. You can have quite a lot for free. You get a few 8 cards, but if you want bigger presentations and better stuff, it's about £8 a month. You can get quite a lot of.
How much a month you say it is?
8.
Oh, that's good.
About £8 a month, so roughly that.
Oh, sorry, David, are you paying that? You got a subscription? You are? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I do use it, and then you can just obviously, if you spent an hour doing, as we said before, if you spent an hour doing doing a slideshow, you would probably be doing well. If you did it from scratch, it would take you forever,
Mm.
So then you can just present that on the screen. So it's but that's not what I did was this one. So he was so let's click on present. And anyway, he was saying that the sort of that they're coming into an intense period of AI. There's lots of competition where people are sort of battling with each other to be number one. And every week there's another one that's number one. This week it's ChatGPT. I think they've just released an update, another 3.0 Pro or whatever it is. But but last week it was somebody else, and the week before that it was somebody else. So every time a new AI is released, somebody else becomes supposedly number one. So he's and he says that there could be lots of sort of upsides with the future of AI. It's not there now, but like finding new cures for diseases and discovering new energy sources that they've said before, and other incredibly, sort of incredible things for humanity. He's said that there are worries about the way AI could be developed with the wrong value systems, or built more unsafely, which could lead to negative outcomes. Yeah, he formed Google DeepMind with a 20-year mission that is currently on track, sort of 15 years ago. So he said sort of one of the biggest problems is defining AGI, and I don't know if you know what AGI is. Neither does anyone else if you don't. But it's making it like a truly intelligent a truly intelligent system. So at the moment, they're nowhere near at the moment. It's people are frightened of AI, but all it's doing is tasks. It might pass sort of math tests, and it might win sort of chess competitions and things like that. But then it fails on counting letters in a three-letter word. So I mean, the consistency is not there, and so it's not it's kind of they're inconsistent and not fully generalizing. So it's a difficult thing. These are the limitations, as we said. It's sort of it lacks robust memory systems, like referring back to what it said previously, that they are working actively to solve that, even with your own little system you have on your computer. They sometimes have problems remembering your previous conversations, or even within the same project. So I mean, it generally does a good job, but it's not, by no means is it watertight. So it's kind of, they he was saying that they're quite a long way short of where they've got to be, but he does think there's a 50% chance that they'll be there within the next 5 to 10 years. Although some people, make different predictions, but he seems like he's a highly he really knows what he's talking about. So, I mean, as you'd expect, he's a scientist anyway, but I think his prediction is probably pretty sound. and sort of DeepMind, who he's working with, has maintained the same timeline since the beginning. So yeah, there's this hard takeoff scenario that suggests that AGI systems could rapidly self-improve, coding future faster versions of themselves. And it said that even, say, the Chinese got in hours before the Americans, they could be so far ahead within that it'd be almost impossible to catch up. So this is so a slight lead in AI development, a few days, could quickly escalate into a chasm. He said that he acknowledged this is one of the many unknowns, but there's also a good possibility it'll be more incremental rather than the hard takeoff scenario, where self-improvement doesn't accelerate in such an extreme way. He said that they'll have geopolitical implications as well, because the early systems were likely to bear some imprint on the values of the kind of norms that design and cultures, which they're embedded into, which the first designers are embedded into. He's saying risks and regulations. I think they're fairly obvious that we need effective, as he says, effective guardrails, or individuals or nations may use it for bad purposes. So they're obviously the risks involved. Work-wise, he was quite optimistic about that. He said you would expect significant job changes, but always in the past with industrial revolution and smartphones and computers, and there was always, it just created new jobs that were better. So and the new jobs are going to be utilizing these tools rather than these tools replacing people entirely. So and there'll be loads of jobs where you need a human element that require empathy. He was quoting things like nursing and doctors. People won't want like a metal robot coming around and looking after you. People want that, human element. So there are plenty of jobs. It's the same as, I don't know if anyone would go to a hairdresser's that's you got a computer there, you got a Robbie the robot there cutting your hair. So I don't know.
I think one of the things that is coming up, though, and I've got various contacts around the world talking about this, is that some of the higher level paid jobs, project managers, people like that, they're now being basically, they are actually being replaced by AI type stuff. So these are the people earning, the 80K upwards type things. And there are a lot of them looking for work actively, even now, because these companies have decided to go down that path. So it's at different levels of affection. I mean, when you think about it, if these people are losing their jobs and they've not got anything else to go to, they're not spending the money they spent before on people further down the food chain.
That's right. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I personally think it will have an impact on jobs in a way that isn't replaced to a certain extent, and there won't be any replacement for some of this stuff. That's not doom and gloom, but I think it will.
Yeah.
Well, that is covered in a couple of slides. Actually, it'd be interesting to see what you think about that, because his advice to people coming out of university and young people is to get fully immersed into the AI systems and learn about them. You can't just put them to one side and say, no, I can't be bothered with that. You've got to learn. The STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and you've got to understand how these systems work, and you've got to learn how to use them. Because because people who know how to use AI tools, he said that they could be 10 or more times productive, than people who are not learning about, haven't got AI skills. So it's an absolutely crucial that those things are mastered. But
Yeah.
the thing I found was interesting was his view of radical abundance, and that's going to be the key to the future of the world, really. Because he said that potentially, once you've got unlimited intelligence and unlimited um, power to reason and do things as they're envisaging AGI, you could get medical breakthroughs that would cure diseases, sort of energy revolutions. He was particularly talking about if we get abundant, cheap energy, that's there. At the moment, there are countries with water shortages and with climate change, however that's caused. The obvious thing is sort of desalination plants, because we've got tons of water. It's just a bit salty, most of the water we've got. So it's so with desalination plants use loads of energy. But if energy was clean and really cheap or free, that would solve that problem. So and then he said that they could work, if it's possible to be working out, he's talking about going into space and colonization of the stars throughout the galaxy. But that's a bit fanciful. But I mean, it's if there is a way, in theory, it would be able to work it out. But that's the thing, because that vision is, although quite a good one, it's um hang on, I think it's covered in the next one. Oh yeah, okay, that's what I just was talking about. So it depends on who owns this. It's got to be it's got to be for the betterment of society as a whole. He was saying, and I'm going to stop that share now. He was saying it should be for the betterment of society as a whole. Otherwise, there's going to be terrible problems. If you've got, like you've got now, a few super rich people, if you've got a few super multi-trillionaires who are owning all of this stuff and everyone else is down the bottom of the pile, that would cause some unrest, I would think. So
Mm.
it's going to be things would have to change where everybody would benefit, and then you're talking about a different makeup of a different way the scientist. And he says that the thing that puzzles him, he's a scientist, but he said there are no economists or anybody else even theorizing about how the world how the world should work. He said there's no great books, there's no great, there's no great studies going into this. And he says that's one thing that puzzles him, that this is going
Mm.
to have he thinks radical abundance is going to be the end result. Um, where is that abundance going to go?
Mm.
So it's the so
Yeah.
that's I think is a
Well,
um
I think though that I don't know how connected he is, but like this group that I'm telling you about with Ken Minkus and those, they're looking at that side of it, the economic aspect of it as well as and how it's going to play into the
mm.
whole changes in job, the different types of jobs that are
Yeah, but that's
that
sort of one.
going to be developed.
That's one aspect, but this is much bigger than that.
Yeah, yeah,
Sort of
they're looking,
individual
yeah.
jobs are going to go and change, and the computer is going to be doing jobs that like coders do now. I've written codes myself in the last few weeks that I couldn't have done before. I've written
Yeah.
WordPress plugins and things that I've could have I could have done them, but it would have taken me weeks to write
Mm-hmm.
a plugin that took me literally 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, but there are people looking at it, people like Dr. Peter Diamandis and that group of people. They're looking at that whole aspect of how it's going to impact the world economically and trying to
yeah,
do things in a way to incorporate everyone. And like when it comes to like the reasoning gaps and things like that, there are companies like Outlier AI, and I didn't know about them until somebody from that company actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, because what they're doing is they are looking for people who have like very specific knowledge in specific areas. And what they're doing with those people is, I mean, they brought me into the program and I was looking at it, I was like, I don't really have time for this. But anyhow, what they're doing with it is they are using you to people like that to help them and they are working for all of these other AI companies like Google and all of these Gemini and all of these people, right? But what they're doing is they're using you to develop questions or what they call prompts that stumps AI models because they're looking to improve the reasoning for these AI models within and they're using the specific knowledge to be able to do that. So that is one of the things that tells me that the even though there's this timeline and people are looking at it, well, it's soon going to take over the world or whatever. When on the inside of that, you're recognizing that they're not at the stage yet where the generative AI has the reason, it's going to have the reasoning capability, and that is a kind of a distance away because thumping these AI models, right, bringing in questions that they are not able to solve is quite difficult.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Quick question, David. You said about WP plugin. What did you use to generate that? Was it a particular thing or just
Yeah, just Gemini.
Gemini, just to create a
Yeah,
plugin?
yeah, yeah.
That's
I
good.
just told it what I wanted to do. It was to put schema into every post and page on a website.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so and it's
Cool.
and I just told it what I wanted. It just churned it away, just spat it out, and I load it up. It didn't need debugging or anything. It just it didn't error. It just
Yeah.
worked. It just gave me the PHP script for it, and it was
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
it's so I uploaded it to my own website and I'll see how it does. But I mean,
Yeah.
it was quite interesting. I mean,
Cool.
there are other ways. I mean, you can put even the free version of Yoast or do um, we'll put the schema in for you and everything. But I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. So it's I was trying to think of other useful plugins I could maybe do even commercially, because I mean, I'm sure there must be a few ones that I could create that are worth having, So I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
think of some.
It's getting it approved in the WordPress plugin
Yeah,
directory, isn't it? That's the
that's
thing.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, people do sell them separately, but you need
Yeah.
to be on the you need to have like a crippled free version that goes out into the wild,
Yeah.
and then people can then pay for the version that works properly. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what I was thinking.
so I mean, it's and it's and people pay reasonable money for plugins. Some people
Oh
pay.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at sort of WooCommerce. I can remember when I first used it, it was kind of free. It must be one of the biggest in the world now because they every single little thing you do on WooCommerce has got a cost attached,
Mm.
like a yearly, and it's not just you can't buy their plugins, you got to rent them. So I mean, it's and then there's like £130 a year for this and £130 a year for that, and it can really rack up the bill. But obviously there are alternatives, but I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people want to use those. So yeah, so do you feel optimistic or depressed about AGI? I felt a lot more optimistic after I heard him speak, I must admit. So I mean,
I'm just glad I'm going to retire within 10 years.
that's right. Yeah, I was thinking that
No, no,
myself.
no, no.
I'm
It's
thinking,
gonna impact you in retirement too. I'm very optimistic myself, and I have a 17-year-old and a 22-year-old. The 22-year-old runs his own media company, and I have been getting on him to really get to understand AI because I'm seeing that AI is going to impact the business that he does and that he needs to have that on board of that. And my 17-year-old, I'm telling her, because she's now looking at universities and all that kind of thing, I'm telling her, you need to do something that will be relevant in the AI time because by the time you graduate from
Exactly.
university, it's going to be more
Just
in there.
learn about the tools and just go with the flow. Because what we're learning today will be irrelevant in a year's time or whatever. But
Yeah.
It will
if
be.
you're in that if you're in that zone, if you're in that loop, you know, there are stuff that we'll be learning that you think, oh, that's useful, you know. But
Don't you think that there might? I think the biggest danger, possibly, I know it's probably more dangerous than this. This is sort of like a global warfare, and you know that the thing about the Chinese embassy that was that's got it's a bit controversial. They're building it in London, and people are a bit worried about the cables they're putting down. And we don't live in a society that is absolutely convinced that everybody's out to get you. But there's some societies that do exactly feel like that. So that have for them it would be a defensive strategy to perhaps put some or to recode. So you were saying that if for instance America got this AGI first. And therefore would be, or China, whoever, and then within sort of months be far, far away, you know, more improved, more what do you call it?
yes,
Sophisticated
I
than
mean,
somebody
it can
else.
rewrite later versions of itself, you know, so it
Yeah,
would be
amazing.
constantly updating itself.
Yeah. But
I
if you
just
were of that mindset, then you could perhaps want to, you know, infiltrate some malicious code in another AGI somewhere that was sort of
Which was another
slightly
issue we
less
did bring
advanced.
up was
Yeah,
the cyber security side of things, because
exactly.
we
Yeah.
you constantly hear about I mean, obviously they're on another level to Marks and Spencers and things like that,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
some kid in a with a ZX81 hacks in and steals everyone's credit card details. But
well,
it's
on that track. I'm even with today's tech. I'm totally surprised that someone hasn't created a thing that attacks normal, everyday, small businesses, people like us. Okay, because ransomware type attack, doing it via AI, mass doing it, basically saying to people, do you know what? You pay us £100, we'll completely take you off and never bother you again.
Don't put that idea out there, please.
But it's only a matter of time before it's going to happen, because no one is going to be protected in the small business space, or very few are.
Oh my God.
And
No,
that's
I agree with
the
that.
put that idea.
fastest way for them to generate lots of money would be to do something like that.
Yeah.
Please do not repeat that statement outside of this.
well, you know, but
be
then we all use bigger stuff. I mean, we all use sort of Apple or Windows or something.
Yeah.
I think
they get in though easily if they wanted to.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to happen. Well, I'm sure it's happening, you know. So.
Well, I think most attacks are still carbon-based life form errors, aren't they? I mean, there are some sort of, you know, machine stage attacks, but most of it, I think the majority of attacks is still us. We just, you know, oh, that looks interesting. Click.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they see the big money coming from the big companies, you know, so that's why that's more popular.
They do, yeah, but it's a very funny way of doing it in my mind.
But it makes me laugh about sort of Microsoft Defender was like chargeable, and it's so Microsoft write their software, Windows and everything. It's got a load of security holes in it, and they charge you money to sell you a product that they created to plug the holes in the thing they sold you in the first place.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing, I suppose, about these handful of companies being in charge of, you know, of basically our future. It's a bit worrying. But as you say, I think most of us here feel, you know, pretty optimistic, and hopefully we'll retire, as Andy said, within 10 years anyways.
Go and live in the woods, eating animals and insects and stuff like that.
Gosh,
You're going
I don't know
off
if I'd be very good at that.
Completely off grid. Okay.
Yeah.
Plenty of insects around here. There's I thought there's a shortage of flies and things, but we had about 1 million in here yesterday. You just open the door, they're all waiting outside, and they all come flying in.
That's your aftershave, David.
Odor dog shite or something.
Odor Twilight.
You know, I think it's going to be okay, though. You know, I think it's going to be okay because I'm old enough to remember the rollout of the internet and
the Industrial
mobile
Revolution.
and all of these kind of things. And back then, people were like, "No, the world is going to fall apart," and this is and that. And it's become quite useful. I mean, it's brought a lot of problems, all this hacking and all this kind of thing and stuff with it. But but on the whole, it's been quite useful, and we've adapted, haven't we? And we've grown with it, you know. So I think AI is going to be the same thing.
I think it's going to be more revolutionary than that. That was an evolution,
Yeah,
really, wasn't it? And it came sort of, well, it wasn't gradual. I mean, first there was no internet, and then there was, and then there was mobile phones, and maybe not in that order. But this one is big.
yeah,
It's
it is. It's going to
huge.
be
It's
more
happening faster
revolutionary,
for
but I
sure
think we're
because I
going
mean,
to survive it.
because I was using
Hi,
dial
can I
maybe
ask
in
something?
1990, I was using like a modem, 300 baud modem or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then by
Commodore
the
64. So
Commodore
Hi,
yeah.
64,
David.
I had something more basic than that.
Yeah.
Can I
Vic, was it
ask?
a Vic 20? Sorry, Lorraine.
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. I just wanted to ask something. I know you guys been meeting for quite a while, and I've just joined. But David, I just wanted, what do you think, or what's your take on intellectual property and AI? I'm just kind of newly into it,
Mm,
and there's a few things going on. Well, a few things I don't know you've heard that number one, for those who are environmentally conscious, they're saying it's taken, there's so many trees that will be dying because of the use of AI. So I don't know if you've got a response to that. And the other thing is about intellectual property, because what I understand what it does, it actually, I mean, I've just got that free chat GPT app, put a question in and it draws it from different sources and it spurts out an answer without any acknowledgement, unless you ask it, mind you, and which you can't if there's a generic question, of where it's got its information from. I just wondered, David, if you had any thoughts on that.
not really. I mean, I mean, I learned like sort of using the resources, they say that a forest is going to die just by people saying thank you to ChatGPT, but I don't
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily,
Mm,
there's not much you can do about that. The thing you need is cheap energy and plenty of it, and you're going
Mm,
to have to do that. And whether it's going to be AGI that works people out how to do it, or whether they work out a system of doing it, it's that we need the energy. Developing world needs the energy. There's lots of. It's unfair to say to people, you can't do what we've done because we've fucked the planet up,
mm,
I mean, it's pulling up the ladder behind us, and you've got to live in poverty because we've messed it up. We're not prepared to give you
mm,
any money, but we're going to stop you from building something that's going to use up energy. And I don't know, and intellectual property. I
mm,
mean, the energy thing I can't do anything about. Intellectual
mm,
property. I don't know. I mean,
the
there's a lot of information is in the public domain. Like if you
mm,
put something on PubMed, it's understood it's in the public domain and it can be
mm,
mm,
quoted. And there are other things. Wikipedia's the same, and it does use a lot of sort of Wikipedia and Quora and other things that are public domain sources. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure it's used.
Actually,
You can
sorry.
do write a story in the style of Douglas Adams. No, Douglas Adams is dead, but you can say write a story in the style of Douglas Adams, and it will.
Yeah,
So,
but
is that
yeah, yeah.
stealing
There's
intellectual
actually
property?
a sorry. There are
Yeah.
actually a couple of cases right now with AI intellectual copyright infringement. Right. I saw one of the articles on Yahoo Finance the other day, and I was just trying to pull out who they are right now. So one is Reuters versus Ross Intelligence and Getty Images versus Stability AI. So, and apparently there have been a good few cases with intellectual property infringement using AI that have come up in the US. So
Hmm.
there's actually now a branch of law, right, dealing with AI intellectual property infringement in the
It'll
US.
be it'll be happening in America. The trouble is, well, not the trouble is, but say like the American government, Trump's administration is very, very keen on AI, on the American companies taking the lead worldwide with AI, and that they're not going to be interested in if anything like that come along and threatens the system. Okay, but they might get a few $1 million out of it, and that's neither in nor there to them. But I mean, I'm sure if it threatens the system, it will be trampled
Mm.
on, I would think.
But they're not looking at it in turn. They're still wanting to protect people's intellectual property. That's the point that these cases are being the point of argument that these cases have been brought on. Even though you have the things out in the public domain and so forth, right? They're still trying to protect. That's what
I think that's
law
true.
is.
It's not true of the of a lot of things, you know, like anything to do with universities and anything to do with science and all these things. These things are in the public domain anyway. But artistic, you know, artists and things, I can understand.
Yeah.
You know, like you've got Suno generating
Exactly.
in the
Yeah.
style of different things. You know, you can Suno have put out new releases the last few weeks, and now you could almost have any song with you singing it, and you just upload your voice, and you can upload a track and say you want something like this, and it will create something like that but different. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but it is there. It is there, and there are quite a few cases, right, trying to protect other people's intellectual property. So I don't think it. I think the more it develops, the more it is going to become something that people have to think about when they use stuff.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure. Um, and then we're lost my I've lost my thread. I was looking at I was going to do cookies and I was going to do Jelly Pod, but I'll do Jelly Pod next week. It's about doing podcasts. You can create your own podcast, but you can it's some of them are quite. I saw one that wasn't very good, and then I saw sort of Jelly Pod, which is good because it's a good way of podcasts are quite a good way of sharing your expertise and creating YouTube videos as well. And there was one where you could just upload the audio and then it would create a conversation between two people. You can create new characters each time and put them in any setting you like, but it wasn't quite there. It was a little bit off, you know, especially when the conversation flicked between two people. So um,
I
Is
was
there a
actually
future? Is there a
interviewed
future for
yesterday.
podcasts though, David? I mean, just thinking a lot. Yeah, there's people now who are just taking podcasts, YouTube videos, etc., sticking them down into something like Notebook LM, and just saying, "Give me the important stuff out of here in context with my business," because they've
yeah,
already told it
exactly.
about their
Yeah.
business. Why would you sit through loads of stuff? You
Yeah,
just want to get that bit. It's just
it depends. I mean, I do that exactly what
yeah,
you said, but I was like when I was listening to the 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 Google guy. He was he was interesting enough for me to want to listen to the whole thing. And there are people who I do listen, and other things I think this is great information, but I don't want to listen to the whole thing. And then I'll do what you say, go to Notebook LM. But with like the sort of Adonis Sabis, I thought, well, this it was kind of engaged me. So then I did stick with it because it was something I was interested in. So I was kind of there. Whereas a lot of videos I see on YouTube, I'm watching it because I want to see the updates to Gemini or ChatGPT, and I don't necessarily want to sit through a half-hour thing, you know. So
yeah.
and I suppose that would damage they're creating the stuff and put it onto YouTube, and then they're not getting the full whack for it because you're downloading the script.
It can work the other way. I mean, I did it yesterday with something. I put some things in there and got it to summarize them. But then, as you say, it gave me. I thought, oh, actually, I'll go off and look at the full version of that.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you curate everything else out there as quick as you possibly can, and then go and look at the detail if you're interested.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Because you can just keep with Notebook LM, you can just copy and paste a load of YouTube videos without even looking at them.
Yeah,
And say, sort that shit out for me, will you? And
yeah,
just just tell it what it is you're after, and it will come up with it. And then you can say, yeah, that's great. Create me a 10 page slideshow, and it'll do that. And it'll,
You can take all your competitors' videos and stuff like that, and
mm,
then say, right, okay, these are the competitors. This is me.
yeah,
Give me something unique that does more than they're doing.
yeah, and write me the script that I can
Yeah,
just read out,
yeah,
or get another character to read out the script.
yeah.
That's an AI character to read out the script.
So do you both use a good
Notebook LM.
Notebook
yes,
LM.
that's it. We talked
Yeah,
about that last week, didn't we? Or the
We
week
did,
before, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's probably, I mean, I did use it before, but I've only recently started using it. And in some ways, I'm using it instead of Gemini because even if I want to know about one single video, I just find it so handy to just drop it in there, and then I can create notes about it, and you can just save those notes, and it's all neatly packaged inside that
it's,
one.
it's interesting that it's free at the moment, but then
Mm.
like ChatGPT, you get the free version, then you pay. How long till Google have to monetize because they're not making money out of Google Ads down the line?
Yeah,
Mm.
You can
yeah,
see it
Mm.
coming.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
it's very interesting. So David, you got to be careful there because the New York there's a case with intellectual property. It's the New
Yeah.
York Times versus OpenAI, right? And the New York Times brought a lawsuit against OpenAI, and the claim is that OpenAI trained used their copyrighted articles to train itself without their consent.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I shall leave them to sort that shit out because I don't think I think it's above my pay grade. So I'm a bit. I will watch it with interest, and I was aware it's been going on for a couple of years now, hasn't it? So I mean, it'll go on for another 10 probably, knowing
yeah.
American legal system.
so,
So
so,
it's
so, so, be, so, be, so be careful when you grab these people's videos and stuff like that, and you summarize them and you post the content that they don't come back and say, "Hey, that
who did that?
particular phrase belongs to me."
Yeah. But I mean, most things are in the public domain, stuff that we talk about and stuff that's around is in the public domain. Why would you publish something on a website and then say, I don't want you to quote it? I mean,
But that's the case that's going on with the New York Times and OpenAI now, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Right, I want to